when customers were calling in, they weren't just saying, oh my gosh, I need to close my account, like click. It was more so, what are y'all doing? And this is where like another shift in the business came to us, which was, wow, we kind of owe it to customers to tell them what we're doing because, we're living the same journey with them. And so at that time, I was like reading about the CARES Act, like line by line. I was like trying to apply for a PPP loan. I'm talking to customers and they were unaware of this stuff. And so we did something that I think is now the next part of our business, which is we actually launched PPP inside of our product.
Here's the thing. The fastest growing companies in the world, they're small businesses, often with less than 100 employees. So how are gritty entrepreneurs, CEOs, and founders like us going up against massive markets, scaling teams, building systems, and skyrocketing to success before crashing and burning? This podcast will give you those answers. My name is Chris Ronzio. Welcome to the fastest growing companies. What's up, everyone? Welcome back. I'm Chris Ronzio, and today we're here with a special guest from WizeHire. It's Sid Upadhyay. Hey, Sid.
Hey, Chris. Thanks for having me, man. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for being here. So founder and CEO of WizeHire, tell us, what is WizeHire?
Yeah, so WizeHire is a small business-focused online recruiting service. We're here to help small businesses. If they've never hired, they've hired before and hadn't had success, we're here for them. We're a deeply personalized platform, so we focus on a few key industries. And when I say personalized, we go really deep. For us, it's all about the person that is wearing too many hats, hasn't posted an ad before, doesn't know how to interview. We're going to solve their problems, not just with software, but actually with people. So our process is all about connecting that business owner that's super stressed, having a coach on our end, teach them how to post an ad, possibly how to interview, think about compensation, and just set them up for success. And as a result, they're a better business. People are getting great jobs. And it's just why we get super excited every morning.
I love that. So we were joking before we started recording here that you and I should basically be best friends because we, the small business market that we care about, you guys help them hire people. We help train them once they're hired. So, I mean, match made in heaven.
Match made in heaven, man.
Yeah. So I'm excited to talk about this, the pre-hire kind of stuff that we're not usually involved with, but everyone that's listening to this has to go through adding people to their small business, taking off those hats, delegating, like you said. So I want to talk about it both from your kind of expert point of view, but also from your being in the driver's seat of a growing company yourself. You mentioned you guys started back in, was it 2014?
Yes, 2014, bootstrap company. Yep.
Yeah. So, and growing from there very organically to a team of 30 and now a team of 50, you mentioned. So great people growth along the way. And so let's tell that story. Let's go back to the beginning. Like, what gave you the idea for this? How'd you get into this business?
So I think much like, as we were saying, like there's such a deep like kinship we have with this customer base. It all actually went back to like this bigger idea, which is just that small businesses don't have the access or knowledge that big companies in the Fortune 500s have. When we got into this space, we were actually, it sounds crazy, but we were a personality assessments provider. I came to personality assessments as a skeptic. I was working with my co-founder who had a previous business in the space. And again, we were just working with big like Fortune-sized companies. We'd have like the big consulting companies get involved with them. And we saw this repeated pattern, which is that when you found the right people that were aligned and motivated with work that actually was meaningful for them, all of a sudden you had overnight success. Turnover is increased or is reduced. People are happier. And so the dream really was, can we take that and as y'all are doing, democratize it for small business? We got into it and realized small businesses had so much more on their plate that they needed. I mean, they didn't have the right candidates. They weren't thinking about, is this one job or two jobs? Are we paying enough? And so thus we kind of went down this awesome journey of helping small businesses just one step at a time, rolling up our sleeves. And here we are today with an online recruiting platform that's, well-rated, well-liked, but we have a lot still to do ahead.
Yeah. And thousands of customers around the world. I mean, you're not just getting started, you're really taking off here. So talk to me a little bit more about like, you've got this platform, but also there's people behind it, right? There's the service element. So what's that hybrid look like behind the scenes?
Yeah. So, if you think about the closest analogy, almost maybe like a staffing firm or a consultant, the mid-sized companies, the big companies, if they need to hire like a VP, that's what they're going to do. They're going to get someone that's going to handhold them, help them ideate that job, do a little bit of interviewing, teach them how to like think about it. And that's really where what our hiring coaches do for small business comes into play, because we're taking the power of technology and automation. We're giving the people in our business the ability to help hundreds of customers at a time, all because one, we are so industry focused. So, our business is not one where it's just, like every applicant tracking system out there, here, post a job, get the applicants, you do your thing. It's so much deeper, because we think about an industry, we figure out like, what are all the jobs in it? How do you hire for that? We're asking questions that I feel no one asks, which are like, if you have a license to do this trade in North Carolina, can you also do it in South Carolina? Like, those are the questions we ask. And then we can educate the customers on that. And it just leads to amazing success, because our customers are becoming better employers as a result of this, upskilling, and just bringing great jobs to people at the end of the day, which is just so fulfilling.
So I've never heard of a hiring coach. In my world and in my experience, it's been either you struggle through trying to do this yourself, or you pay in a really expensive recruiter and you pay 15 or 20% of someone's salary. And so is a hiring coach a new thing you've created?
I very much think so. We fell into this world mainly because we have this ethos in our company, which is just to ask why and go deeper for the person on the other end of the phone or the live chat. And the role of a hiring coach actually initially was just a moniker. Hey, this is a support role. We'll call them hiring coaches. But today, these are truly coaches. These are individuals that have helped hundreds of people make the same hire. They've got a lot of experience that they've built. And then our tools are giving them the ability to scale out that empathy and insights that they have just to hundreds of customers at a time.
I love that. When I was running my consulting business before Trainual, I had this HR consultant that I used to bring on to help companies for exactly that. It was just interview them, sit with them, more than they do, because as small business owners, a lot of times we just don't know what the heck we're doing when it comes to hiring.
And that's the hardest thing, right? We have to know where our bounds are, where we might have blind spots. And I mean, we're a premium product in the space. We're getting customers that are growth oriented. They're coming to us saying, hey, I've tried this myself, haven't had the success, please help me. And once we get to that point and we're able to give them that education, rejigger their ad, give them the content that they need, teach them how to interview, they're just set up for success as a result.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so how about for you? Who were your first few hires early on? You had a co-founder, it sounds like.
Yes.
What was that early team like that you found success with?
So we have been on this long slog of a journey, and I'm happy to say that just about everyone has actually stayed in our business. We're it's a testament to the team that we found, the fact that we're I used to think values and mission and vision are fluffy, and now I'm the biggest believer that be clear about it. Why are people excited about this? Hire for that. And then you're just going to have so much more success with the people that you bring on. So the story is my co-founder Jay and I, first few years, just doing a lot of consulting, helping customers with this type of problem. My friend Nick joined us, started actually building the applicant tracking system portion of the business. Soon we hired Kathy, Melissa, who are now leaders in our business and actually leading our coaching team and building all these other departments. So it's been a great journey, but I'll say that we have all, I think, much as we hope to upskill our customers, we've had to go through that. And I think that's such a common thing with small businesses or startups. You're wearing a hat, you're making mistakes, you're learning, and now you're giving the hat away to someone else along this bigger journey. And that's I think the best part of the job, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's so similar, the paths that we're going through. So, because you have this expert hat and you know how to do hiring, you're helping people with it. What kind of tricks or tips would you have for people that are posting their first few jobs or trying to find the right people? I mean, are there some just broad tips that you can give?
Totally, happy to share. And I think the first thing, especially for someone that's, let's say, a business owner or an operator, I think it's the hardest part is to come from a place of empathy and realize, you might not have actually applied for a job in some time, and the market has changed considerably. We see this often, which is that, CEOs of companies will describe the job as they think it is, put it on an ad. Maybe it's not as descriptive as they want, but think about this, right? You're hiring for people that are experts in things that you're not good at. So it's obviously a challenge. You got to describe that well. I see this common issue where, you've got very quick deciding execs that are it's I need an admin. It's a 2-sentence job description. But think about this on the opposite end. The person you're hiring is a detail-oriented admin who wants to see a lot more insights in what is this role about. So first and foremost, put yourself in the shoes of the ideal candidate. Think about, what describes success. work backwards, describe the job. You might want to research other people in your area. Now, especially the second thing that I'm telling a lot of people is to actually research your market. We're in this interesting time, especially with the pandemic and like what's happening in the economy. One, there's millions of people that are out of work, but on the opposite end, in certain industries, people have been able to work through the whole time. So we've actually had this very like interesting thing happen where, the number of jobs that are open and active right now on the job sites that are like hiring actively, it's actually doubled in the last 6 months. Wow. But there's actually not as many candidates. And so like, it's one thing, you have to have patience, put yourself in the position of the job seeker. I highly recommend all employers, research your market, look up the job that you're about to post for, look it up on a job site and just see how many other people are hiring for it. Go a step further, check out the LinkedIns of the world and, research how many candidates there are actually out there. It's a really important thing just to note so you can take temperature and get a sense of like the best expectations. Because I meet so many people all the time where it's like, wait, my buddy in like, South Dakota was able to get this person very quickly, but like I'm having so much trouble in my city. It's a geography thing. Finally, if you are able to hire remote, lean into it because people are really looking for remote jobs, especially right now.
That's such a good tip about the research piece there. So I'm going through a process right now with a new website, for instance, for some of the speaking I do. Mm-hmm. And in the process with the designer, they ask me to show them other websites that they like, that I like or don't like. And that's just it's a normal part of the creative process. But I don't think anyone does that with their job descriptions. No one's out there searching for like, how are other people marketing this job? What's good? What's bad? It's
such a challenge, right? And I mean, I think of like writing job descriptions almost as like a college essay problem. It's like, I know what I want to say. I don't know where to start. I really think steal like an artist, look at others, get a sense of what like people are looking at, what they're receptive to. Highly, again, just recommend go to a job site, the Indeeds, the ZipRecruiters, search for that job and see what are job seekers looking at, because that's going to give you way more insights. We work in a lot of niche industries, and this is the funniest thing. Sometimes they'll have very specific job titles. I'm a director of first impressions. Well, that's not a title that like, if you search on a resume database, you're going to see 1,000 people for. It's like 4 people out there. So having to take a step back, remove some of the, like jargon and just make it accessible ultimately.
Code ninjas and things like growth.
Rockstar is the most common one that we see. Yeah. You never want to use Rockstar.
unless you're a band.
Unless you're actually hiring for a band. Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. So one of the things that you mentioned, you went through this pivot early on. It says, so you started as a personality assessment tool. Is that what it was?
So we were in the business of working with consultants that would use personality assessments, and we saw this awesome, outcomes, and we wanted to bring it to small business. And we thought, let's maybe take some of the insights that the consultant has, put it in a product. Hey, so if you're hiring and using assessments, we'll tell you who to interview. That's where like things got really interesting, because it was just, we got in there, we were talking to customers, they got value out of what we needed, but then they were done using the service, they were done hiring, or they didn't have enough candidates. And thus we began the journey down the rabbit hole of, you don't have enough candidates. Let's get you more candidates. Let's get your jobs on job sites. Let's build you a tracking system. And, here we are 7 years later.
It's one thing led to another, but that's interesting. You listen to your customers and the product evolves. So smart that you did that. But another part of your journey is that you started off bootstrapped, but recently became venture funded. That's something that a lot of people struggle with on whether they should do that. So I'm curious how just the philosophy changed, or how the approach to growth changed in your business.
Yeah. So we again, like, being the person that talks about values, we did this from a values perspective. We actually took stock of the fact that we had lots of people in the team that this would impact. And while we thought there was an awesome opportunity, we wanted to make sure the team was bought into this. So we actually did our Series A out in the open in front of the company. Like, I pitched to the company. We told them about how meetings were going, who we're talking to. I have to say that a couple of big changes. And for anyone that's like thinking about this, especially the trajectory that you've been on as a bootstrap company, obviously we know like the expectations are for a different outcome or a different growth rate. Those are all like superficial. I think there's so much more underneath the hood. It's you might now have partners like board members and investors. It's a different relationship that you might not have had before. Thinking about that, I especially think that for first-time founders, whenever I talk to them, think a lot about the other party. It's not just capital at the end of the day. It is a relationship. Like, there's all these like blog posts and jokes about how it's a marriage, but it really is. I mean, these funds are going to be with you for 10 years. And I think the person at the end of the day on the other end is who you really want to make sure there's great alignment with. For me personally, a lot of growth throughout that moment. Incredibly humbled by all the friends and family and people that were just, encouraging us, the team and everyone just to keep at it. It is as is also, I think, well documented, a pretty brutal process. You're going to be faced with a lot of rejection. Know that up front. It's part of the process, right? But yeah, it's you have to be, I think, really, really, especially as a bootstrap company, aware of what you don't know, but also what you need to unlearn. Because that's, I think, the second hard part. Once you've got capital, if you're focused on growth, there's just changes in the business because you're probably used to running a P&L in the black or whatever the case.
Yeah. I remember before we took on investment, I always thought that investors would kind of be like the principal at my high school, like that I was scared to go visit and talk to. And like, it's a bad thing if they want to talk to you. And they were more like the guidance counselors, like they've become like amazing mentors and partners. Exactly. And so I think that's such it's a good way to put it.
They're going to challenge you. They're going to be like your thought partners for sure. It's like such a good relationship when you find the right person.
So, over the last 7 years or so and thousands of customers, there's got to be some moments for you that you could pinpoint where growth really started to take off. And it sounds like the verticalized content is a piece of that. But what would you point to really say, like, this is why the brand was just getting going?
I think one of the scariest and also like most eye-opening moments for us was actually at the beginning of the pandemic. So I think I've said this, I've written about this, we actually overnight in the first few months of the pandemic, a year ago at this point, lost about 50% of our revenue overnight. We were working with small businesses. We were a bootstrap team. We were committed to keeping everyone on the team. But in that moment, we realized the things that made us successful, and there were some things that we didn't even realize that we needed to lean into. The first one was that, the scary days for small businesses that those were, right? This was calamity. People didn't know what was going to happen. And I remember the entire team just like rolled up their sleeves. We're hopping on the support lines, talking to customers through this. And because we had actually solved this really complex, messy problem of hiring, when customers were calling in, they weren't just saying, oh my gosh, I need to close my account, like click. It was more so, what are y'all doing? And this is where like another shift in the business came to us, which was, wow, we kind of owe it to customers to tell them what we're doing because, we're living the same journey with them. And so at that time, I was like reading about the CARES Act, like line by line. I was like trying to apply for a PPP loan. I'm talking to customers and they were unaware of this stuff. And so we did something that I think is now the next part of our business, which is we actually launched PPP inside of our product. So we started like connecting customers to banks and, about 300 customers got loans as a result. And now I kind of am like reimagining the business, which is we've got this personalization. We're going super deep. We went into lots of industries and that's how we recovered from the pandemic. But long into the future, I mean, we just want to be partners for these companies, help them with everything beyond the hire. Partnering with you is a great example of that. So now we're just like, we've got a much larger vision ahead of us, lots more work to do, and we're just excited about it.
That's cool that you looked for all the opportunities on how to help customers during that. What I thought you were going to say is we pivoted into firing coaches, instead of hiring coaches.
No.
Like the George Clooney movie,
exactly
in the air. So you mentioned this, you alluded to this a little, just deepening the partnership relationship. But is that what you're most excited about? Thinking out in the next 3 to 5 years? What's the big picture?
I have to always be careful how I say this. Not for like signaling our strategy, but more so like, these are really like heavy problems and they take a lot of time. But the way I get excited about like the next 10 years, whatever the case is, we're making these great relationships with small businesses that have never had someone backing them. And if we can take the insights that we have from being so industry focused, we can get them the help that they've always needed. I mean, think about any time that you or I, or maybe one of your listeners has had to like, spend an afternoon calling like an insurance broker because they have to like buy this thing or whatever the case. Like we can solve that, right? Here's the best thing that you need right now for your business. based on all the experience that we have for your industry, working with hundreds of people. So a little amorphous, I'll leave it like purposefully vague, but we're super excited just to like back companies, connect them to the service providers that they need, and just help companies grow the way startups grow at the end of the day.
Well, I think we share the same passion of just making the small business experience a little bit easier. So we're coming
so hard for them. Like, it's got to get easier. Definitely, man.
Absolutely. All right. So if people want to connect with you and learn more, where can they find you?
Yeah. So WizeHire.com. And my name is Sid. I'm on Twitter at Sid. My email is also pretty easy to guess. If you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. We're always here to back small businesses.
Well, thank you so much, Sid. Hopefully, if you're listening to this, you've heard how Sid was able to bootstrap this company from the early days with a partner to pivot from their original idea and mold the product and the service to fit the market they were going after. They used verticalization to just be smarter about how they were asking questions and helping their customers. And they really, at the end of the day, deliver a pretty unique solution with their hiring coaches, which I think they made up. It's like a new category. So check them out, see everything that WizeHire has to offer. They also have a ton of cool job description templates. So if you're looking
feel free
for
to steal one if you need it. Go for it.
Yeah, go and check out their job description templates. But Sid, thank you. Listeners, hopefully you've been able to take a page from Sid's playbook to put in yours, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks again, man.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Fastest Growing Companies podcast. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. If you found the information helpful, share it with your friends and family that can benefit from it. You can also find Trainual's company account at Trainual, just like a training manual. We'll see you next time.